Atomic Heart's Trapped in Limbo DLC is colourful and eye-catching, and I hated every minute of it. I certainly felt trapped in a mobile game-inspired expansion that's repetitive, frustrating, and a chore to complete.
I really got myself in a pickle.
Anything but this.
As someone who enjoyed Atomic Heart itself a great deal last year and found several things to like about the previous DLC, I am genuinely baffled at how actively I do not want to play Trapped in Limbo ever again.
Your hand! No.
While Atomic Heart's first dose of DLC, Annihilation Instinct, explores what happens after the shorter of the main game's two unfulfilling endings, Trapped in Limbo picks up in the aftermath of the longer one. Respecting and expanding upon both endings is an interesting and commendable approach, even if having these add-on DLC chapters flip-flopping from one ending to the other before anything is resolved makes playing through them feel like reading a choose-your-own-adventure book from front to back. In this conclusion, P3 is left in Limbo, a dream world for the subconscious that he was previously sent to during the main campaign, while the collective network controlled his body. Unfortunately, unlike the visits to Limbo during the core campaign, which were creepy, quirky, and used in brief bursts, Trapped in Limbo drastically overstays its welcome and goes all in on just a couple of gameplay mechanics that are repeated ad nauseum until I was thoroughly nauseated.
It could drive you limb bonkers.
For clarity, it only goes for a few hours, which is entirely fair for a low-priced DLC add-on. The levels are just not enjoyable, so they drag. Everything here really could have been edited into a short prologue level to illustrate P3's return to the real world. The majority of what's here is just padding.
Okay, limb bonkers is funny.
The first and worst are the sliding levels, which function similarly to Counter-Strike's surfing, which, if you're not familiar with it, is a long-running mod scene for Counter-Strike that embraces a physics quirk and is based around sliding down sloped platforms. Trapped in Limbo's sliding levels are finicky trial-and-error affairs, and they go on and on and on. I can see no other reason for the percentage complete bar at the top of the screen other than to reassure us that there is indeed an end to this torment if we can persevere to it. There's just something off about the way it feels, and I was never able to get a good gauge on how to consistently get the right amount of air off the end of each slide segment. It has nothing to do with jumping because you can't. It's all about the angle, and yet getting it right is not always possible thanks to the huge spiky obstacles. It's like playing Tony Hawk with a broken ollie button, and the half-pipe is mined. I didn't feel a sense of satisfaction getting to the end of these sliding levels, only relief that they were done and I wouldn't have to do them again. That's not a sensation I associate with having a good time. Accompanying the two sliding levels are a pair of climbing ones, which focus on first-person platforming, although they also include aggravating sliding sections of their own. These levels are a lot more in line with the moments of first-person puzzle platforming present in the main game, and they're certainly a little more straightforward. For instance, it's quite forgiving when it comes to landing on tiny cubes and detecting clambering opportunities. That said, I still had times where I was cursing the sloppiness of the jumping on a timing-based trap,
Shit!
or reloading my last save after falling into an area it didn't appear I was supposed to have been able to get into. Like the sliding levels, I have no desire to play these again either. If you're wondering why we haven't discussed combat yet, it's because there really isn't much of it beyond a few arenas. Enemies are largely edible reskins of the ones in the main game, but despite the small cachet of sugar-coated candy cannons at your disposal, the combat is anything but sweet. I get P3 is living in a dreamland here, but it just has none of the punch or metal-rending mayhem of the main campaign. It's plain.
Sometimes Limbo surprises even me, and I've seen a lot.
The fifth and final level of Trapped in Limbo is the weirdest of all, and that's saying something in a universe where the main character's dead wife is actually two 8-foot-tall ballerina robots. It's an endless runner. The level actually does have an end, but it's long enough to feel like it doesn't, and not in a good way. I get that this version of Limbo is a weird place where anything's possible, but an endless runner as Atomic Heart DLC is a little like having a band you like coming out for their encore and humming a nursery rhyme. Not quite what you'd expect, and you'd probably walk out.
Maybe he has a point, but it's a bit over the top. I haven't seen anything like that before. What does he want from us?
Atomic Heart trapped in Limbo may be wild and wacky to look at, but playing it is a huge disappointment. Beginning as a candy-coated version of Counter-Strike's surfing and ending as an exhausting Temple Run clone, this DLC add-on stretches its limited ideas into an equally limited set of levels that seem to get less fun the longer they go on. Much as I appreciate the idea of expanding on both of the main campaign's endings, if this is the result, then it should have been left on the drawing board.
It's so colorful. Butterflies, cookies, and clouds shaped like turds. Fabulous.
For more on Atomic Heart, you can check out our review of the main game itself, or our verdict on the first DLC, Annihilation Instinct. For everything else, stick with IGN.
Don't stick your beak in me!
The geese are invading!